This video is brought to you by Against the Flow of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi is a book about Jake Fayard, a Marine veteran who is unhappy with the political machine running the state of Mississippi. He decides to fight the corruption from the inside. Jake will face more challenges than he ever has and will stand up for what he thinks is right. His notoriously hot temper will push him to the edge of murder, along with his friend and brother Kobe Barhanovich. Together, they will fight the system and give the power back to the citizens of Mississippi.
Against the Flow of Mississippi was written by Anthony Oksenholt and was published by Oksenholt Biloxi Publishing, LLC. A link to the book will be placed in the description below.
Yeah, this a revolution in our time. Everybody's fighting, change coming, yes. That's why it's an acronym for riot. Everybody has a voice. Don't you dare stay silent. If you say nothing, you are an accessory to violence.
They've had their say. Seems like they've had that kind of say around here for too long. Look, I had to stand up for myself alone. I went in there to remind them that somewhere in this world there's still a little law and order left. To let them know in the only kind of terms that their kind understand is that they can't bribe or threaten their way out of what they did. To let them do this to me and get away with it, and you give them the eternal right to do the same damn thing to any one of you.
Access 228, your host, Anthony Oksenholt, where we report the facts and we are not for sale. If you have a news story or something that's on your mind, please feel free to give us a call at 228-337-2099. Be glad to have you on. Thank you for listening, and we do appreciate all that you do to support us and keep free and independent journalism doing what we do best. All right, y'all. I'm going to do another video. I done laid down, took me a nap, woke up, not as much in pain as I was when I made the last video, but hey, electrolytes, they're important. I'm finding that out the older I get. So I'm sitting here with, get another bottle. Sitting here with some of this stuff. That shit right there is like WD-40 for my muscles. Anyway. Y'all, I'm still up here in Virginia. I ain't moving. Don't really want to do anything till daylight, but let's do another Dixie Mafia episode. Because there was a few things that I left out. If y'all have seen some of my other videos that I have been going after Yuri Petrini, the guy who wrote the People Be Biloxi website. If you've seen that, seen those videos, well, I still don't agree with everything he's doing, and I probably never will. I think he's barking up the wrong tree, but we'll see. But in conversation yesterday, he actually asked me something. He asked me if the entire Gillich family was mafioso. And he started out by asking if Mike Gillich Jr. and Mike Gillich III, Tina Gillich, and there's another family member in there, if they were mafioso. I told him no. Do I think Mike Gillich Jr. and Mike Gillich III were criminals? Or, well, I guess third's still alive, so is a criminal? A jury of their peers decided yes. Do I personally think Mike Gillis Jr. was a criminal? Yeah, I do. 100%. Was he committing felonies? Yeah, quite a few. Now I'm going to get on to a real touchy subject for me. Somebody also asked me recently if I thought Pete Hallett was guilty. Before I answer, I am going to tell y'all I have a lot of respect for Pete. I consider him a friend of mine. I didn't meet him when he was released from prison in 2013. I met him in the fucking 80s. He was a family friend of mine. The Sherrys were too. And y'all, we going back into history here, okay? This ain't current events. Um, do I think that he was as involved as what everybody thinks? No. Do I think that he was not involved at all? No, I do not. I think he was involved. I think he was doing some things that he knew was wrong and he knew he had no business doing. But I don't think what he was doing was punishable by an 18-year prison sentence. However, I recognize that number one, the state of Mississippi was going through a shift in the 90s. If you don't know what I mean by a shift, in 1990, before 92, we always had Democrats in power. In 92, we elected our first Republican governor. In 93, Biloxi elected its first Republican mayor, A.J. Holloway. We were turning the tide on trying to go out with the old and in with the new, and it was an emotionally charged period of time. It's just what it was. We were trying to get rid of our past. Um, Bobby DeLauder was prosecuting around this time Byron De La Beckwith for killing Medgar Evers in the 1960s. There was talk about changing our flag. I'm not going to state my opinion on that. Those that know me know my opinion on it. Um, there was a lot of changes happening, and it was an interesting time to live in Mississippi. Even as a teenager, as a child and as a teenager, a preteen. I was born in 1984. 1997, I turned 13 years old. And I paid attention. That's good stuff, by the way. I paid attention back then, just as I do today. Um, but I don't think it was. I don't think he was in it to the point to where they said he was. I think it was more of, hey, let's show the world that Mississippi is changing. And that's what I think happened. Um, Looking at some of the other things that were going on before this, let's go back to the 1970s. Let's go back to the 60s. Go back to, actually, you know what? No, let's go back to the late 40s, post World War II, and the 50s. Keesler Air Force Base was opened up in Biloxi in 1941. The attacks on Pearl Harbor happened in December of 41. Well, Keesler Air Force Base was not Keesler Air Force Base back then. It was Keesler Army Airfield. It was an Army base, which the Air Force is an offshoot of the Army. And it got its own department. Much like the Space Force is an offshoot of the Air Force, but I think they're still under the Department of the Air Force. I could be wrong on that. And I've never served in the military. I want to get this out right now. I have never served in the military. I kicked myself in the ass, and that is one of probably my biggest regret in life is that I never did serve in the military. Too old to do anything about it now. Too old, fat, and out of shape. I don't think they want a 300-pound, broke down 41-year-old man. But I do consider myself somewhat of a military historian. Though I don't really like to use that word because that would imply that I do have military service and I do not. But I am familiar with the history of the military in this country. Get a little cold in here, I'd turn the heat up. I will say that when Keesler opened and people came back from World War II, that was the rebirth of Biloxi after the Great Depression. We started having slot machines in just about every store. We had more poker tables, card tables, craps tables, roulette wheels, and probably back then than we do now. And then in 1952, the Kefauver, however you say his name, hearing started. And they were going into New Orleans. They were going after Carlos Marcella. Y'all don't know who Carlos Marcella was? He was a real mafia crime boss who ran the city of New Orleans. He already had a casino established in Jefferson Parish by this time that was ran with the permission and endorsement of the Jefferson Parish Sheriff at the time. Gambling was illegal back then. Biloxi, with this new Air Force Base, saw its largest employer be the U.S. government. And you've got a lot of young airmen that are coming through there straight out of basic training. They're going there for tech school. And hey, I was a young man one time. young men are going to do what young men do, and they need to blow off some steam. So, hey, why not go to one of these casino strip club whorehouses? And that's what they were. You know, you can go put a nickel in a slot machine. You can go drop a couple dollars on the dice table. You can go sit at the table over there, hang out with your buddies, and have some girl come cooing up to you. Pay her a little bit of money, you might get a lap dance. Might get your pecker rubbed through your britches. For a little bit more money, you can go in that back room back yonder and have about 30 minutes on sheets and hope that you didn't buy something extra with your fun. And that went on. And in 1952, the Kefauver hearings came down. They held part of them in the same room that the city council is now at Biloxi City Hall. Back then, City Hall was a post office. It was a federal building. So, hey, why not do it there? And at the time that all this was going on, my grandfather was a rookie deputy sheriff. And also at the time, the sheriff of Harrison County was a man named Laz Quab. Laz Quab, his name is on the police department right now. Laz Quab came in there and said, "Oh, hey, you know what? Let's just shut everything down while the Washington boys are here." And let me tell you something, that was the cleanest in years the strip had been for that short amount of time. Laz Quab left office. Eddie MacDonald came in. I'm going to clean up the strip. Yeah. Eddie MacDonald and my grandpa were about like that. If my grandfather spit, it came out of Eddie MacDonald's mouth. That's how far his head was up his ass. They were pretty damn close. My grandfather was on the sheriff's department from about 1950. I can't confirm that it was back to 1950. I know at least 1952, but I suspect longer than that. Till he retired in 1985. That's how I know these stories. My grandfather was a street deputy. He was also a bailiff. He was kind of sporadic on when he'd show up to work. He was also one of the first security guards hired by Bill Holmes at the Coliseum. He also worked at the old Buena Vista, which is right around where the Beau Rivage and Hard Rock is. Downtown Biloxi on Highway 90. But he also did other things. Now, Mike Gillich, the reason he's never got caught doing anything that he couldn't handle was because he had a handle on law enforcement in Mississippi, on the coast. In 1970, the Mississippi Highway Patrol, getting fed up with everything going on the coast that was thumbing their nose at Jackson, they sent Rex Armistead down and somebody who would later become sheriff of Harrison County, Joe Price. They said, hey, go shut this shit down. And they did. Highway Patrol was blocking the Golden Nugget. Well, you got to give it to Mike Gillis because he's got some resolve. He outlasted the blockade, and in very short time after that, things went back to business as normal. And I'm talking about Mike Gillich here because I want to say that I know the Gillich family. A good friend of mine is married to a Gillich. I've said it many times on here. The mayor of Biloxi, Fofo Gillich, is a friend of mine. I'm proud to call him a friend. And it's not because I want to curry any favor with him, because I don't. I don't think it's right. I just think he's a damn good man. And I don't think that he was involved at all with anything going on back in them days. Just my opinion. I think that his only association is his last name. And unlike Gotti, Trapicante, Lucchese, Gambino, you run into somebody with those last names, there's a pretty good chance that they're into some shit. We all know what those names are. Last name of Gillich, not so much. There was a lot of people that was involved with it that had multiple ethnic last names. Bill Allen was in with it. In the 1930s, growing up on the Point, you were very poor. You had to figure out where you were going to fit in life. Mike Gillis Jr. was born in 1930 and grew up on the Point in East Biloxi. He started working when he was like 11 years old, I believe, from what I've heard. And he learned to be very frugal with his money, very responsible with it, and later on got into the businesses that he got into. There was a guy by the name of Water Bill that actually introduced him into what his life would later become, dealing in adult entertainment and dealing in gambling, bars, smut. And when he figured out that it paid, he just did what he could do to put food on the table. Right, wrong, or indifferent, that's what he did. Whether you agree with it or not, whether you think it was a legitimate business or not, it was a legitimate business, as in It brought revenue to the coast and allowed him to live the life that he lived and donate to the Catholic diocese, Catholic Church. And I'm not praising him. I'm just telling it like it was. I'm not condemning him or praising him. This is what happened. And if I get something wrong, post a comment and let me know. Um, did he fix judges? Well, let me tell y'all about another man. Man, it's actually on my shirt that I'm wearing. The man that raised me, man I call my dad, Hubert Dale Kirk Jr. He worked for a lot of people. Mike Gillich, DJ Venus, um, Dewey D'Angelo. He he was actually involved back in the 70s in what today we would call human trafficking. Okay. He would go to Texas, pick up girls, pick up what he would call go-go girls or strippers, and bring them to Biloxi, and they would go from dancing to full-on prostitution. This is what he told me. Um, that's just what he did. I'm not excusing it. I'm not saying that it was okay that he did this. Personally, I find it disgusting. Um, he would also run drugs for him. He would pimp the girls out. He told me that there was a judge, and I'm not going to mention the judge's name. He was a justice court judge, I can tell you that. Later convicted felon. Do your own research on that one. He told me that he sold him more female company than just about anybody. This judge took care of a lot of Mike Gillich's um, girls. It is what it is. Again, I'm not excusing this behavior. I'm not condoning this behavior. I'm just telling you what happened. Kirksey Nix, Bobby Joe Fabian, quite a few others that would later wind up in prison in Angola together and would wind up turning state's evidence, would frequent these establishments. Along with those in Arkansas and Tennessee and Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana. It's kind of a wild, wild west back then. These traveling criminals, as they were called until 1970, when Rex Armistead coined the phrase Dixie Mafia, their jobs back then was to make money how they could. If that meant a drug deal, it'd be a drug deal. If it meant a murder, well, you were going to get got. If it meant human trafficking, as we know it today, that's what they would do. They were involved in a lot of shit. Was Mike Gillich involved with it? More than likely. But it wasn't a mafia. There were no real rules except don't talk to the police. That was the main code. Don't snitch. If you've been in Biloxi for any length of time, my family's been here for a long time. If you've been in Biloxi for any length of time, you start looking back on your last name, your last name, your lineage, you've probably got people that were involved in some pretty dirty shit. Let's be honest. I speak for myself as well. As I've mentioned, my grandfather, dirty bastard. There's a reason I don't like using the name Allen. I just haven't made it down to. I just ain't made it down to Chancery Court yet to change my name. I plan on doing that this year when I get a few other things squared away. It's high on my list, but I have a few things that are higher. Why y'all know me as Oksenholt here. I am I'm pretty sure that the Dixie Mafia back then is dead and gone, most of it. I'm pretty sure that most of the really bad ones are not a threat anymore. I'm also relatively certain that there's a lot of myth and a lot of lore that's been passed down and passed down and passed down from word of mouth to a whole bunch of people. And the story's gotten all twisted. Y'all remember playing telephone as a kid? You don't know what telephone is. That's when you get a bunch of kids in a big circle and, the teacher gives somebody something to whisper and he'll whisper it in the first kid's ear and the first kid will whisper it in the second kid's ear. And by the time it gets all the way around, it's a whole different thing. She might say, the sky is blue. And by the time it gets around, it's Lindsay's got blue panties or something. It's weird. That's just how shit works. So, when you're going with these second and third hand stories, you have to remember that The game of telephone applies, the rules apply, and the result is usually the same. Now let's talk about people who are looking for attention, that are knowing these stories or have heard third and fourth and fifth and 10th hand stories, and they have inserted themselves into this lifestyle for whatever reason, be it genuine attention, looking for sympathy, looking for money, wanting to write a book, or they're mentally disturbed. As an investigator, just because somebody's mentally disturbed does not necessarily mean they're wrong. Likewise, you can also tell the same story in lies enough to where you will actually believe your own lies, to the point to where I could hook your ass up to a polygraph and you'll pass, because you genuinely believe the reality that you in your own mind has created. It's weird, but it's true. I could shoot you up with sodium pentothal and hook you up to a polygraph machine, and you are going to 100% regurgitate the same story that you've told 5,000 other times, because that is the truth. You have convinced yourself it's the truth, and it is 100% the truth as far as you go. But when you look at evidence and you apply common sense, and a lot of the things I like to look at, I look at using Occam's razor, which is usually the simplest answer is the truth. There's also an anti-razor. You have to apply it very carefully, but looking at it, it's not hard to figure out. We have this wonderful thing called the internet and news articles. We can do research. We have research at the tips of our fingers. We have carry it in our pocket. It's a very powerful tool. The question is how are you going to use it to benefit the truth? The truth is, on September 14th, 1987, a judge and his wife were murdered in their house in North Biloxi. It happened. We know this. It's documented. Truth number two, it led to inmates at Angola. It also led to Bobby Joe Fabian doing an interview with Ed Bryson of WLBT out of Jackson, and that story being broadcast all over the place. We've seen clips of it. If you've ever seen City Confidential, it was shown. If you've seen the Biloxi episode, Pride, Power, and Prejudice, it was shown there too. I'm pretty sure if I went to WLBT archives and asked them for the whole thing, I'd probably pay for it and get it. I don't know exactly how that works, but I'm fairly certain I could get that whole thing. But was Bobby Joe Fabian telling the truth? Or did he have enough half-truths in what he said to point in the right direction? Sorry, somebody trying to lowball me on a truck I'm selling. Did he have enough half-truths to where it's just enough to point him in the right direction? I would say yes. And that's where you have to look at this stuff with a grain of salt. And you have to do your own research. And you're not going to find it overnight. You can't read the first article that you come across because it may be contradicted or corrected 10 articles later on the same subject. More on this later. I'm going to make a whole series out of this. Access 228, your host, Anthony Oksenholt. Good morning.